Hello and welcome to the One Degree Show. I am your host, ELLAMAE, and join me as we talk to elite entrepreneurs about the one connection, the one person that changed the trajectory of their business and their life. Let's get into it. I'm here with Mina Elias. So Mina is a multiple seven-figure seller in the supplement industry. He's an investor, an Amazon PPC expert, and founder of the Trivium Group. And he has an Amazon advertising agency because, he was bored. So he figured he'd start up one more thing. So he didn't have a lot going on. I'm just joking. So Mina excels at developing cutting edge supplements for different target audiences and combines his passion for supplements, his background in chemical engineering and chemistry, and his expertise in PPC to crush the competition on Amazon. Damn, dude. His goal is to change the way people perceive Amazon PPC and empower them to take back control and dominate their ads. Mina, thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Me too. Okay, so that's quite the resume, first of all. So you're a fighter. You've got a background in chemical engineering. You've got all this knowledge of supplements and how the body works. Tell us a little bit about how you got to where you are now.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't waste any time. So I've been working a lot, but okay. So I came to America in 2011. I was born in Egypt, grew up in Dubai, and I came to America 2011 to get my bachelor's. Work up corporate ladder, make a name for myself, and then go back to Dubai and make a very nice big salary. That was my dream. So I came to America. I got my bachelor's in chemical engineering in Connecticut. I graduated top of my class. Then got my master's. I worked in corporate. I worked for one of the biggest surgical devices company in America, which is a $30 billion company. And then kept working up working my way up. And eventually, like all of us, realized that this sucks so bad. So I was waking up at 4:30 in the morning, working out, going to work, like 45-minute commute each way, then going to MMA at night. It was horrible. And it was a lot of things, right? It was like feeling like you're on a hamster wheel, and like the only difference is you just in your little hamster wheel you get like these little different things, like once you go from a project engineer to a manager to whatever, you just keep getting these different little tasks that you're doing, and it didn't feel fulfilling. There was no option to be like an entrepreneur. I didn't know about if that was even a thing. I just thought like you're either an employer or like an employee, one of the two. So I hated it. And while I was there, I decided I needed to get out. I was listening to Rich Dad Poor Dad. And this was like 5 years into corporate, like not too long. I was listening to Rich Dad Poor Dad, and they kept saying like corporate's a scam, like, blah, blah, blah. This country was founded on corporations and all this stuff. And I was like, yeah, like I believe this. And the book resonated with me a lot. And then I had gotten my master's. I asked, after a year and a half of working in this company, I went from nothing to managing 12 million in projects. And I asked my boss for a raise and for time off. She gave me $1,000 or $2,000 raise for the entire annual salary, which is stupid. And then when I asked for time off, she said, no, you can't have this time off. You have to have that time off. And I missed like a big family trip. And I said, you know what? I'm done with this. And that's kind of when I was like, I really got fuel to build my business. So I was on vacation, and I'm like very passionate to supplements. So I started looking into supplements, and I decided, you know what, like I could probably make this for like $5 and it's selling on Amazon for $30. And so like as soon as like that idea came into my mind, I became obsessed, and I ordered a bunch of ingredients. I started mixing them at home, testing all this stuff. I started running the calculations on how like I'm going to make this profitable. And so in like 3 weeks, I built from zero to like a supplement brand. I had like the design done. I hired a designer, got a logo. I put up a website. I didn't know anything. I just like kept asking people like, how do I do this? How do I do this? Kept asking Mr. Google and YouTube how to do things. So I just basically was like doing whatever, but I knew for a fact I could make the best supplements ever, because I live and breathe supplements. I have so many of them. You can see like right there's like a bunch on the wall. So and so I know I could make amazing supplements. So I made a mix and I took it to the gym, and I started trying it on myself, and I felt really good. But I said it's probably the effect, like, because I made it. So I gave it to my friends, and they're like, dude, this stuff like is really helping us. So after like 4 or 5 days, they're like, wow, we're not getting as tired. And I'm like, you know what? This is actually my, I didn't tell them that was my stuff. I said, this is actually my supplement brand. And I announced like on Facebook that I have a supplement brand, like, proud entrepreneur moment. And then I tried to sell it at the gyms and in stores, and it completely tanked because it was like literally like I would go there, I would say, hey, like guys, like I'm selling a supplement, and they're like nah, okay, like just leave one, and then they'll like never give me a call back or anything like that. So I was like, why am I even doing this when I buy all of my supplements on Amazon? And so that kind of got me into like, okay, I need to sell on Amazon. I called up Amazon Seller Central. I did a bunch of stuff. And then finally, someone picked up the phone and they said, yeah, like we'll send you an email. This is how you can, this is how you can start selling on Amazon. So I said, okay, cool. I got on Amazon and I'm like, okay, now what? How do I make this stuff sell? And I'm like, okay. I started going to like conferences, meetups. I was living in Connecticut, so I would go to New York. I would drive to New York 2 or 3 days a week. There was nothing in Connecticut, obviously, but there was a lot of stuff happening in New York. And if you don't know, like Brooklyn is probably the biggest concentration of Amazon sellers in America.
No way.
Yeah, insane. It's all like this Jewish, like Hasidic Jewish community, like super high level Amazon sellers, like all concentrated into one like big block. So it's crazy, but there was meetups and conferences. So I started attending, and I would go like with a notebook, and I was like the most annoying person there because I would like, if I met you, I say, hey, how's it going? How's everything going? Okay, cool. Okay, now here's the list of like 700 questions that I need to understand so I can figure out how to sell my product on Amazon.
You're just like cornering speakers, like just like
dude, that was literally my strategy. Like this was my strategy, right? I would sit down, and then the speaker would say any questions, and I put my hand up and I would ask like a good question. And I was like, I was an A1 student. I got like a 4.0 in like my master's, like a 37 in my bachelor's in engineering. So I knew like how to ask good questions. So I would ask a good question just so like it's like a little warm up, I'm coming for you. And then after I would go and say, hey man, this was amazing. Like you're really good. Like how long have you been doing this? Like you're an expert, like just a bunch of compliments. And then the ego is like, whoa, like they feel good. And I'm like, okay, here we go. Can I ask you a few questions, please? And those few questions would be a 1 hour consultation. So
that's amazing though. Like that's how you learn. Like
that's essentially what I did. I did that like nonstop. And I was in the Facebook groups, and I remember like I went from like I got into a Facebook group, and I like would ask like 3 questions a day minimum, post 3 questions a day. And then the owners of the group would hit me up. They'd be like, dude, like you're insane. Like, how are you like nonstop on Facebook, like asking questions? But I was so obsessed, and I wanted to get out of my job because I hated my life. Like but granted, like it was a good life. I had a nice car. I had like a small house. I didn't own it. I rented like a 3-bedroom with a couple of roommates that were like my very close friends. I was getting paid 75K. So life wasn't bad, but like, when you're not doing like what you're meant to be, you just feel like your soul is like being sucked out of you. So that's kind of the feeling. And I was just so over it because I went from one corporate job to the next corporate job, always like in hopes of like, oh, this next one is when like things are going to change. This next one's when I'm going to like, hit my stride. And I never hit a stride. It just kept getting worse because it just kept like reassuring me that you don't belong in like in a corporate like environment as an employee. Like you have a different personality type. And I always thought, no, like I'm just like maybe being a rebel. But then later on, now I realized like I actually like I cannot be caged. Like I know like so many of us entrepreneurs, you can't just be put in a box. You're all over the place. And it's totally normal because that's like what's caused for me like a lot of my successes, not being caged, just being completely like free and explosive and like going all over the place. But then I'm learning 10 times faster than anyone else. So so anyways, like I learned from these people. My business started taking off on Amazon, and within 6 months, on the 6-month mark, I got fired from my corporate job for probably like working too much on my business and not doing enough work or losing passion for that work. And then but I was making like enough money, like $4,000 a month in profits. So
Yeah.
I was like, all right, I'm out. But it was not enough. So to like survive, I had student loans, all this stuff. So I packed my bags. I like got rid of all my stuff, put everything in my car, left my car like at church in the church parking lot, and then I flew back to Egypt for 4 months. So I
Oh.
saved money on rent and bills and everything, and kept reinvesting into my business. And then 4 months later, moved out to Los Angeles, and I've been here ever since then. And by then I was like making 10 grand a month in profit, so I was able to like live off of 4 or 5 and then reinvest the other portion of it. So continued to grow and scale my business. We hit over 7 figures in like the second year of the company. Yeah, I guess, yeah, in the second year of the business I hit over 7 figures. And I started like doing more supplement brands, things like that,
Mm.
until 2021. So I was the same way. I got a lot of value from all these people in the conferences and events. I said it's like it's probably like now my turn to give back. Like I'm not I might not be like the most expert or like have hit like multiple 8 figures or whatever, but at least like I know something more than some people. So if there's a question, I'm going to answer. So I just started answering a lot of questions in the groups to give back. And people would come in, and the questions that I thought were like tough, which were actually now like, oh, that's pretty simple, I can answer that. And so I started giving back, and I started building like a personal brand in the community, and sharing videos and like, here's what this means, here's how you do this, here's this mistake that I made, don't make it, here's this, I tried this and this is what happened, like you can learn from my stuff. And so I built a pretty big brand name, and all revolving around mainly Amazon advertising. And I think the reason it's Amazon advertising is because I'm an engineer, and ads is like it's pay per click. So it's a lot of spreadsheets and like, being
Yeah.
very organized and optimizing like things and increase and decrease and stuff like that. So it just, I was like very good at Excel, and I had no problem. And I started seeing the trends and the patterns pretty easily.
Yeah.
And then fast forward to February 2021, I had like a team. One of them was an Amazon advertising employee, and I had a friend come. She hit me up. She's like, my PPC is going to, it's like going down the drain. Like I need some help. So I said, fine, I have an employee. Let me just take over it, like as if it's one of my brands. And that by that point, I had 3 brands. I had invested in one brand, and my value add was my advertising. So I was already doing it. So I said, yeah, sure, I'll take you on. And she was like, oh my God, like you saved my life. I paid this company 3 grand a month, and they completely destroyed my account. And in like 3 weeks, like everything's better. So I was like, okay, I'm glad I could help you. And I
Yeah.
offered her many times. But you never like kind of want to take it from a friend, because you think they're just gonna like just do the bare minimum. So then it happened again with another friend, because she told another friend. And then in the midst of all that, an aggregator hit me up, and they're like, hey, we were looking for someone to help us build our in-house Amazon advertising team. Can you help? I said, yeah, sure. So they're like, okay, tell us what you know about Amazon advertising. And I basically, it was a 1 hour pitch where I gave them a 1 hour consultation slash pitch on how much I know about Amazon advertising. And they were blown away. So they said, okay, we're going to hire you. But before we do, we need you to prove to us that you know what you're doing. So take on one of our accounts. They had like, I think 30 or 40, something like that. They said, take on one of our accounts. Let's see what you can do. And they said, full transparency, we also have 6 other agencies that we're testing against you. And so like 3 months in, they hit me up. They said, you're winning. You performed a lot better than all these other agencies. Like, we're gonna go with the proposal, and we're gonna move forward with the in-house team. So at that point, I was like, dude, I'm like, I beat out 6 agencies. Like, I'm pretty good
Nice.
at this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and these guys like raised like a couple 100 million. Like, so they could afford any agency they wanted to. So I was
Yeah.
like, okay, this gave me like enough confidence. And then I started the Amazon advertising agency. And honestly, ever since then, I was like, this is like where I belong, because it's such a like, I love it. And it's such a
Yeah.
people, I love supplements so much too. And that's why like I still have my supplement brands. But man, like traveling to the conferences and talking to people and like talking
Mm.
about marketing and business, and it fills me with energy. So that's kind of like the little 10-minute journey, 10-12 minute journey into my life.
That's super cool. And do you think that when you were first getting going, when you just got like really obsessed with creating this business and putting together these supplements, do you think It's because it sounds like it was almost equal parts. You were really unhappy at your work currently, but also you were really damn passionate about this, and there was something about it that really drew you. Do you
Yeah.
do you think it was one more than the other?
No, no, because like it was literally like they're attached. Because the reason I was leaving my corporate is because of the lack of like passion that I had for what I was doing. And so I said, I'm never gonna do something that I'm not passionate about again. Why why should I do more engineering? Why should I do more like whatever project management if I could literally do anything else? Like I could,
Mhm.
if money didn't matter, I could, play soccer professionally. I could be like an artist. I could make supplements. So I'm like, this is what I love. Like I love supplements. Like ever since I was a kid, my mom would go shopping. She would leave me at the GNC like 3 hours. I would read, like I would look at supplements like one after the next for 3 hours. I just loved it so much. And so it was just so natural for me. And I've been like one of those guys, like the biohackers, quote unquote biohackers. I'm always testing these like new things and like new supplements and trying to come up with like ways to like perform better. And I perform like at a very high level. Like I wake up like 5:15, sleep consistent like at 8:30 or 9. My food, my sleep, everything is like optimized, and my carbs are timed around like certain times of the day, all this stuff. So I
Yeah.
really like pay attention to my health. And like, but it's just like supplements is, it's more, it's almost like it's like a candy. It's like I don't know how to describe it, but it's like so fun. Like you're taking these supplements and you might get like this incredible benefit out of it. So that's kind of like the way I look at it.
Okay, well, while we have you, what
Yeah.
are some of the key things that people should look for? I mean, I know there's no supplement that everybody should be taking, but
Yeah.
what are some of the key ones that you find help a lot of people? Key things you should look for, things to stay away from? Any like hot tips around that?
Yeah. Generally, okay. So a few things to stay away from. Ace sulfame potassium, or ASK.
Okay.
That's an ingredient that makes stuff taste really good. So usually found in beverages and drinks. If you see that, that's a carcinogenic product. So obviously, like over time, it adds up, but it's a carcinogen. So if you see that, most proteins have it that taste good. Most any like nice tasting chocolate bar, or any like protein chocolate, any nice tasting protein, they all usually have it. Pre-workout, same thing, but it's very
Mhm.
bad for you. But it does like if I've tasted like raw BCAA,
Uh-huh.
like leucine, isoleucine, valine. It's very, very bitter, very bad. So
Ooh.
I've tried putting stevia, I've tried putting monk fruit, whatever, nothing. But you put a tiny like of like ace sulfate potassium, it tastes like rainbow candy. It's like insane. Like it's a super chemical, so that's why
Yeah.
people use it. Now the
Yeah.
second thing I would say is make sure like that this product is like, don't like just go off of the Amazon reviews. Make
Right.
sure it's like a product that's like maybe in stores or something. Because they're in like Whole Foods and sorry, if they're in Whole Foods and stuff like that, then they've at least like passed some sort of testing. But
Mhm.
literally right now, I can put a label, say 100% elderberry gummies, and I can put gummy bears. Like I can go to Costco, get a bag of gummy bears, put them in a bottle, send it to Amazon. They'll never know. No one will ever know unless you pay like $1,000 to take my stuff and get it sent to a lab to test. So be careful about that. In terms of
Mhm.
like the actual supplements themselves that I love to take, glutamine is an amazing one for immunity. So glutamine, what it does is, people think it's for recovery, but it never really crosses the blood barrier in your gut. So, but if you take glutamine, it like your stomach absorbs it, and it really feeds the like microbiomes in your stomach, and it really
Mhm.
boosts your immune system. So that's one I always have. Vitamin D, by the way, guys, you need the sunlight to actually convert vitamin D. So a lot of people I
Mhm.
know will take a lot of vitamin D. I would say like take a small dosage, maybe 2,000 units a day tops. Don't overdo it, because your body can't really convert it well enough without the actual UV rays from the sun. So
Mhm.
now what I do is I'll have like one strategic call placed in the middle of the day when the sun is the hottest. Put my
Yeah.
headphones on. I'll go catch up with like a referral partner or something like that, a friend, whoever, my mom, and we'll talk with my shirt off in the sun. to like get that sunlight. I know obviously it's not easy. Like for us, it's easy, but maybe like if you're in Connecticut or New York, it's not easy at all right now. It's like 30 degrees out. So
Yeah.
that's another thing. I think for men, they really need to look at like zinc and things like that to raise
Mhm.
testosterone. So I love using zinc. I love using vitamin B12. I do intramuscular shots of vitamin B12 and like the spray under the tongue. But the
Mhm.
reason is I work out like incredibly intensely. So like I do CrossFit and I do mixed martial arts. So all of it is very intense, a lot of like load on my central nervous system. And I found that supplementing with vitamin B12 like really helps with that fatigue. So those are a
Mhm.
few of the things that I take. What else? Glutathione is a really good one for immunity. It fights radicals. Um, let's see, zinc, vitamin B. Um, yeah, I think that's kind of like I don't take too many stuff. Oh, I love pre-workout. But I know it's bad for you. I know it's so bad for you, but it's dude, it's like so nice. It's so addicting. And I have so many friends in the industry that I'm
Yeah.
just like, hey man, like I'm gonna try your pre-workout this month. And then it's like I'm getting a new pre-workout from a friend every single month. It's like it's super fun. But I just love it. Like
Mm.
it's still part of me. I still go to Vitamin Shop and or whatever, Vitamin World, and I like will walk around the aisles and I'll look and I'll be like, oh, this looks super cool, this branding. And then I read the
Yeah.
ingredients and I'm like, these are like really good ingredients and I'll buy it, even though
Yeah.
like I can make anything, but it's like, it's still fun to like buy them. Like I'm so addicted to them.
That's interesting you say that about working out because I've noticed that, and with a lot of my entrepreneur friends, there's so many times when they're in the middle of launches or whatever, and health just goes, at least workouts just go to the wayside. And
Hmm.
I've noticed that too with doing harder workouts. Like there's only really so much I can do. And if I'm in the middle of a launch or something, I mean, like I'm not training for any competitions or anything, right? But it's way smarter to be like walking and doing hot yoga or whatever, as opposed to like really intense HIIT or weight workouts, because I know that's going to tax me so much mentally.
Hmm.
So you're saying with B12, like supplementing extra B12 when you're doing those types of workouts can have a big effect?
Yes, I've definitely anecdotally I've noticed it a lot. One thing, obviously, I don't know why I missed this, but it's probably because it's my brand. But electrolytes have been a major game changer, especially sodium. So a lot of people stray away from sodium because it's been kind of demonized as like sodium will give you hypertension, all this stuff. But your body needs so much sodium, and especially if you work out or sweat, like your muscles contract better with sodium. Your muscles absorb a lot more water with sodium. So for me,
Mm,
sodium's been like a game changer because I used to do low sodium, so I'd never have any sodium in anything. Now I salt all my food, but I also like drink close to a gallon of water a day. So
mhm,
I'm drinking a lot of water, but also I'm intaking a lot of electrolytes, magnesium, and potassium and sodium specifically, those three. And
mhm.
sodium in a multiple forms, like a sodium carbonate form, and then like a sodium chloride, like a table salt form. So a lot of sodium really helps my workouts, and I really will notice it. Like wrestling practice specifically, like wrestling is super grueling. So by the end, I know the days when I miss out on some sodium, like the day before, I'm like, oh, I'm dying hard at the end of it. But the days that I've had like a lot of sodium in the past few days, by the
Mm.
end of like the training, like yeah, you're exhausted, but you're like, I can keep going. I can go for
But
more.
you're
Like
okay. You're not
yeah,
that, yeah.
it's
Yeah.
very easy. Like I can feel it. It's like a big difference.
Wow. Interesting. Do you think that like your discipline, because obviously it seems like you've been athletic for the majority of your life, hey?
Yeah. So it's, ever since I was a kid, yeah.
Yeah. Do you think your discipline around that helped you as an entrepreneur?
Oh, 100%, 100%. I think that's probably like one of my advantages as an entrepreneur is like I'm willing to do so much dirty work, like that so many people are not. So like I'm willing to just like do so much painful, the stuff that no one wants to do, the stuff that like obviously like the entrepreneur life is nice and glammy on the front, but in the back there's like so much like dirty, like
Oh yeah.
like stuff that no one wants to do. And like I think it's my tolerance and ability to do so much of that stuff is what gets me to where I want to get a lot faster, because I have that like delayed gratification sort of thing. Is like, yeah, no worries, like I'll eat it because I know that a year from now this is going to pay off like in a major way. So it's definitely been, and obviously everything that I like learn in MMA has really like translated into business. So, the consistency, the working hard, the full accountability of everything, knowing that like,
Mm.
if you lose, that's on you. It's not because of your team, not because of your coach, not because of anything. It's all because of you. And so those kind of lessons that I learned in MMA and in sports in general really translate well into business, and in life in general, just in life.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, no kidding. No kidding. Okay, so tell us the story. What's the story of the one or maybe many connection, person, whatever it might be, that really changed the trajectory of your life or your business?
Okay, so I want to mention two. One is like way back, and one is like the more recent, more impactful one. But
Yeah.
or maybe I should say three. Well, anyways, we'll start with one. So the first one was like after this conference I told you, where like I raised my hand and did all this stuff, and I
Yeah.
went home and I applied so much, so much, so much, and then
Mm.
like I just kept applying, and taking action on everything, and then a month or so, yeah, like about a month later, Amazon sends me an email, or someone sends me. He says, "Hey, dude, Amazon is doing a meetup in New York City. Amazon themselves in AWS. They have like a headquarters somewhere in the city. He's like, "Do you want to come?" I was like, "Oh my god, Amazon! They're gonna be there for sure." It's because I
Yeah.
want to ask them questions like, "How do I run ads?" So I drove down. I went into the event. Casper, the mattress, like I think their CMO was there. He gave like a nice talk and all of this stuff, and then
Mm.
everyone was like drinking beers, networking, and there was someone from the catalog department from Amazon, like someone from the advertising department, someone from the vendor department, whatever. So I waited in line, went to talk to this advertising expert. She was drinking a beer. I was like, "Hey, how's it going? Like, thank you so much for being here. I'd love to ask you like a few questions. Like, can I share with you what I'm doing for Amazon advertising, and then tell me like what am I missing? What am I doing wrong? Like, how can I, what can I do more?" And so she's like, "Okay, tell me, what are you doing?" And so I took like 5 minutes, literally laid out my entire strategy. And then her jaw just dropped, and she's like, "Wow." Like, she's like, "You do way more than we even know about." And I'm like, "What?" Like in my mind, I'm like, "No, like, what are you talking about? Like, you're Amazon, you know everything. Like, this is I'm advertising on your platform." And she's like, "Yeah, like, honestly, like, the only thing I can tell you is like maybe go broader. I'm not sure." Like, it's like, sounds like like pretty much more than me. And that's like when I had like, this was like this moment, right, where you realize like there is like like this is on you. Like, there's no silver bullet, there's no like this magical key to like the riches and the treasure. Like, this is all on you. Like, I went back and I'm like, dude, like, no one's gonna help me. Like, obviously, like, I have to continuously network and ask people, but there's no silver bullet, there's no like key, there's nothing. And so that was a big moment for me, because that's when I realized like, if I'm talking to like an Amazon employee and they're telling me like this, like, I'm on my own. Like, you're on your own. Like, this is it. Like, you can't like expect to depend on or rely on anyone to get
Mhm.
you to where you want to get. Like, you're gonna have to do this the hard way. And
Yeah.
that's when I accepted. I said, you know what, this is gonna be like probably a tough path, but it's worth it. It's so I'm gonna go for it. So that was the first one. The second one was a little bit later. So this was when I had moved to Los Angeles, and I met a friend, and her like skill set. She's a doing well over seven figures, and her skill set is like her mindset, and she's invested so much into mindset coaches and all these things. And so I said, like I've been helping her in her business, consulting her for a while on the operation side, but I know that she's really good at mindset. So I said, can we have a call? Like, I want to talk about some things. She said, okay, cool. So we had this call, and she's like, okay, I want you to close your eyes, and your body is like, your soul is gonna float up out of you. You're gonna jump a year into the future, into like 1 year into the future, and you're gonna go back into your body, and you're gonna open your eyes, and you just woke up. I want you to explain to me where you are, what you're doing, how much money you have in the bank account, all this stuff. So I started explaining to her like things like, oh, like, I have like 50 grand in my bank account. I'm living in a 3 bedroom with a couple of roommates. And then she's like, yo, stop right now. What are you doing? She's like, you could literally have anything you want in this world, and you're wishing for this, like this is
Yeah.
this is an exercise. Like she said, you could say you woke up and you're in a like a in a private jet, and you know you have like whatever you could, you know, you have a Rolex on you, whatever you want. She's like, you out of everything that you just decided to choose this. And she's like, go back, like we're redoing this. And so we redid it, and I said, okay, I'm living in this beautiful house with big glass windows on the ocean, and I'm like doing this and doing that, and literally everything that we talked about that day became a reality. And that
Oh,
was like a huge, huge, huge. Yeah, I swear, like this is the exact layout of the house with the white countertops, everything that I like imagined on the water, like the whole thing. It's exactly like as I imagined it. Everything that we talked about, I have the recording still, and it became like reality. And that's what I realized. I was like, wow, like really like this visualization of like what I want to be is very, very powerful, and you can really create your future. And so now I never kind of like you know, I always said, hey, before you visualize or wish for something, make sure that like you're always going over, not under, because whatever you wish for, like you will get. So that was the second most impactful. And then the third one, which really changed the trajectory, is when I met this friend who has been an entrepreneur for a very, very long time, incredibly successful, very good with money. Like ever since he was a kid, he was like, you know, he was like kind of born into it, born into entrepreneurship and all this stuff. And he's the one that really taught me how to like think ahead.
mm,
And like most of my life I've been thinking like, what's the next move, like how do I get to this next thing. But he really showed me like we started doing some investing together, and he's like, don't worry, like in 5 years. And I said, like my eyes, he's like, do you need money now? He's like, if you need money now, like this is not the way to go. He's like, in 5 years. And when he said that word, in 5 years, I was like, oh my God, like I'm not gonna see a return like until 5 years. But
yeah.
he showed me the difference between like cash flow and equity, and really building wealth and that kind of stuff. And I was just like a, you know, kind of exchange your time for money person at that point. And he's the real person that showed me like, think
Mm,
like 5 steps ahead. Like, how is this going to be scalable? How are you going to be able to systemize it, step out of the business? You know, how are you going to build equity? How are you going to build investments? He taught me like about deal structures and all of this stuff. So those were kind of like the three things. And I guess the lessons are: number one, there's no silver bullet. Number two, be careful what you wish for. And number three, think 5 moves ahead, not one.
I mean, I like I had a really like I feel like I'm really going through that transition now of thinking more like immediate cash flow versus long term.
Hmm.
And damn, it's harder to think long term. Like I would have been that kid, you know, the famous thing they gave kids marshmallows and the one could that could wait. I
Yeah,
would have been the kid that ate the marshmallow.
yeah, yeah,
Like legit. Like if I'm being honest, right? Like damn, it's harder to think long term, but it's really worth well, for me anyways. I'm not practicing it, but it's really worth it.
yeah, yeah. So much, so much. Like really, like once he started breaking things down for me, and like the how much more potential, like, and it's an asset. So like the cash that we make now, we have a certain purchasing power. But when
Mm,
you invest in an asset, if like inflation happens like it is right now, your asset is also going to inflate. So you're also like,
yeah.
if you had a whatever, like a business that's worth 1 million, you know, and a 30% inflation happened, your business would become worth 1.3 million. So that's the beauty of like assets and equity versus straight up cash. But obviously cash flow is important because that's what you use to put
Yeah.
into equity. So for me, I'm still like, sometimes I get torn. I'm like, no, but I want money, like, because money is purchasing power. And it's like, think long term, think like, you know,
Yeah.
10 steps ahead, like delayed gratification. So I also like every day I battle it too, don't worry.
Oh, I know, right? I know. I feel like I'm really like at the beginning of that transition now, and I'm like, damn, this is like a shift in thinking. I'm
Yeah,
putting a lot of
yeah.
work. And you're just like, oh, how do you manage it? By the way, like you've got so much stuff going on. Like, what do you have anything specific you do with time management to help you balance I mean, and not to mention like you're really committed to your physical fitness and everything.
Yeah. So definitely I do. So the way that I manage my time is, first of all, I have zero wasted time.
Okay.
So if there's any, like, there's no gaps. Like
Mm,
it's one thing to the next to the next. And it's not something that you can go do it right away. So if you try and like do my schedule, you'll probably get burnt out or tired. But what like my goal is like my fitness, right?
Right.
Like I'll jog and I'll like jog for, let's say, like a mile, and then next time I'll do it 1.2, and then 1.4, 1.6. So I always try and keep that, pushing up that level, so that
Mm,
when I'm like quote unquote tired, I can fall back to like a much higher level than most people. So like for me, like chilling, or like an easy day I can accomplish like so much more than most people's like intense days, because I've just like put myself into that intensity so much that like I can go back down to like something that's still pretty high efficiency. So that's number one, like just as a general concept. Number two, every month I pick three things that three goals. Usually I look at my yearly plan, but if you don't have a yearly plan, it doesn't matter. Just pick three things that will move the needle in my business if they get accomplished, and then I break those three things into four, and so one piece per week. So it's basically three pieces per week of every goal, and then that should move the needle in my business because I will accomplish three goals.
mm.
Then I have like a planner. Can we see it? Oh, I put it down there. Sorry,
That's a-
because I'm redoing it for the week. But I have a planner, and it breaks up the 5 days, and I'll take those tasks and I'll pile them up, and I'll pile them up on one day. And as I get done, I'll scratch it off, and whatever is remaining moves on to the next day. Scratch it off, moves on to the next day. So I load it up on Monday, trying to get as many as done possible. And not only do I do that, but I also schedule things in. So everything is scheduled in my calendar, and I
mm,
live by my calendar. So it's not like, oh, today I have to work on like my website. It's like today from 1 to 3, it's dedicated to website. So right now it's, we have a call together. So the call didn't happen anytime. It happened at this time, and it's a
mm,
full hour or whatever, hour and a half is dedicated to this call. So that's what's gonna happen in this time. And it's the same with any other task, whether it's working out, my workout, like from the time I leave the house to the time I come back in and shower is all incorporated into the workout.
mm,
My work, like let's say I'm on a call, it's incorporated into my calendar. If I'm gonna like work on my website, if I'm gonna talk to clients, whatever, it's in my calendar. So everything is there, and I never get discouraged if I miss the mark. So it's okay, because so many days I'm like, I did 3 out of the 7 things that I was supposed to do, but I just never get discouraged. It's like, okay, next day is a fresh day. Let's try and hit like a 10 out of 10, and then maybe I'll do a 7, no problem. Next day, let's try hit a 10 out of 10. I'll do an 8, and some days I'll do a perfect 10. Some days I'll do like a 3 out of 10, but it's not a big deal. It's
mm.
just like that perfect, like what the perfect score is, and you know how to accomplish it, and so like that's what you're always striving for, and it really helps me kind of get there, versus if I just leave it to, because I know like I'm a person, I know my habit as a human, like my body, but if left alone will go the easiest route possible, is
Yeah.
like sleep, chill, don't do anything, mismanage your time. So there's always got to be like these little hacks and carrots that I have to dangle in front of me. So it's like, oh, like I know exactly what I need to do. There's like an alarm for when things need to happen. There's a calendar pop up. It's clear on the wall exactly what needs to get accomplished today. So that's how I like kind of manage most of my time. All the hours are like accounted for pretty much.
Oh my God, that's awesome. Okay, where can people find you? Where do you hang out online?
Okay, a few places. Instagram at Egyptian_prescription_Elias. LinkedIn, Mina Elias. Facebook, Mina Elias. Yeah, I'm everywhere. If you just type in my name, you'll find me. I promise.
I love it. And if you go to it's 𝐿HRDWRK.com. So
Yes.
go hard work, but abbreviated .com. And that's where you'll see Mina's supplements. You can check them out, grab some, whatever you want to do. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. This was awesome.
This is
I was very exciting to share this, and really, I hope like this helps some people out, who are kind of going through the same things I'm going through.
Oh my God, I'm sure it will. Yeah, absolutely. And everyone, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We will catch you next week.
This broadcast is brought to you by WINJECT Studios. We are an all-in-one educational platform for podcasters that revolutionizes how hosts leverage content to increase engagement with listeners, downloads, and income. We come together to focus on community, collaboration, and collective impact. For more information on how you can interact directly with our hosts, access exclusive live content with offers you can't get anywhere else from our official partners, join our purpose-driven community by visiting www.winject.com. If you're ready to build a career doing what you love, then we're ready to see you there.